Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Chris Mendez. The following is an analysis of the General Motors Company. The information and opinions expressed in this presentation are based on information that is publicly available by the General Motors Company. Here are some key points that I will be covering during this presentation. We are going to start with a brief history of the General Motors Company. History is important because it helps you learn about a company's leadership. Second will be the corporate hierarchy at General Motors, followed by the company structure, organizational environment, recent challenges at General Motors, and recommendations for the future. This is a brief look at General Motors Company history. General Motors was founded by William Durant on September 16, 1908 in Flint, Michigan. Over the next several years, GMC acquired brands such as Buick, Cadillac, Oldsmobile, and Oakland, which later became Pontiac. One important thing to note is that the General Motors Company was experiencing the benefits of an R strategy at this point. Their only major competitor was Ford, and they operated differently. General Motors was composed of multiple companies. Diversity was a source of innovation. General Motors recognized the advantages of developing the diverse sets of research, design, marketing skills, and competencies in the small car companies. General Motors wanted to preserve their structure, which is what led them to adopt a multi-divisional structure. Looking back at their history, in 1929, GMC surpassed Ford as the leading American car manufacturer. In 1931, GMC became the largest car manufacturer in the world. In 2008, GMC received a bailout from the government. What went on here was that GMC was complacent and they weren't ignoring consumer preferences. Consumers at the time wanted smaller economical cars, which had current technology integrated. GMC was unable to provide this, so their sales slumped. In 2010, GMC repaid $6.7 billion. Then in 2014, they were rocked by an ignition switch scandal, which called for a lot of recalls, and ultimately this led to several other recalls. In 2016, GMC is the number 2 automaker in the world. The history of the organization can instill a sense of identity and purpose and suggest the goals that will resonate. Next, we have General Motors corporate hierarchy. I was unable to locate a corporate hierarchy chart that was directly from the General Motors Company. However, through my research, I was able to identify 7 levels in their hierarchy. They are the board, CEO, the chair, president, executive vice president, senior vice president, and vice president. Currently, Mary Barra is the CEO. She restructured the company and made it profitable again. As the General Motors Company grew, so did its structure. General Motors became a tall organization. They began to experience the problems that a tall organization experiences. Communication was staggered by too many levels of hierarchy. Decision-making slowed, and so did response levels to customer needs. Motivation is another issue. Sustaining motivation is challenging in larger organizations. Bureaucracy comes with a high cost. The taller a company, the more it costs to maintain the structure. Mary Barra removed several levels of management in an attempt to flatten General Motors' structure. Barra's goal was to create a team-oriented, dynamic company capable of innovatively responding to market needs. By removing levels of management, Mary Barra increased her span of control. The span of control for a new CEO tends to be wide. A CEO is learning their role and integrating with new people. A wide span of control can be a bad thing. The more time spent overseeing people, the less time is spent focusing on company strategy. Mary Barra was forced to take on a wide span of control when she took over GM. She had the traditional people reporting to her, as well as the individuals dealing with the bailout from the government. Barra then had to widen her span of control when GM was rocked by the ignition scandal. Barra was forced to create a safety commission and team to deal with the lawsuits and bad press. It is sometimes argued that the span of control of a CEO should not exceed 6 top executives because of the complexity of the task a CEO's subordinates perform. Mary Barra's span of control is well beyond 6 executives, by design and necessity. Mary Barra's span of control is wide but appropriate. Barra is proving that she can handle a wide span of control while focusing on company strategy. Let's take a look at General Motors' organizational environment, starting with complexity. General Motors is a global automobile company. GM proudly serves 6 continents and sells their cars in 140 countries. GM currently has 10 distinctive automobile brands under their corporate umbrella, ranging from electric mini cars to heavy-duty full-size trucks. GM has approximately 2,700 suppliers worldwide, which adds to the complexity of their environment. GM's size and global presence increases the complexity of their environment. The automobile industry is very competitive. Foreign companies are a great threat to GM. This is a specific force. GM is also affected by general forces, so much that in recent years they almost went out of business. Complexity increases greatly when specific and general forces in the environment become interconnected. Next, we have dynamism. The automobile industry is very competitive, and keeping up with new technology can make or break a company. For years, GM enjoyed the benefits of being king of the hill and was able to withstand a slump in sales or a bad design, mainly because of the stable environment. However, they saw a shift in their specific and general environments when consumers' tastes changed. Consumers asked for smaller economical vehicles that incorporated current technology. GM's competitors were first to market in this area, which hurt them financially. GM has tried to control the dynamism of their environment by signing their suppliers to long-term contracts, thus controlling some of their expenses. Being a global company makes the environment difficult to control. Next, we have environmental richness. GM operates in a very competitive environment. GM sells its vehicles globally, so they have a large environment to manage. GM has to battle for customers and has had to license patents to stay competitive, adding to the uncertainty of the environment. GM operates in a poor environment. They have a high level of competition and are functioning in an era where innovation is crucial for survival. In fact, their lack of innovation and fierce competition almost put them out of business. Currently, GM is experiencing a high level of uncertainty in their environment. GM's environment is poor, unstable, and complex. General Motors has had to deal with many challenges. In 2008, they had asked for a government bailout in order to stay in business. Since then, GM has repaid $6.7 billion. However, the government still owns a percentage of General Motors, and General Motors is working to buy that portion back. Just when General Motors started to rebound, they were plagued with safety recalls, most notably the ignition switch recall. This recall led to a closer look at General Motors vehicles, which uncovered more issues, leading to a total recall of 29 million cars in 2014. To make matters worse, General Motors was found guilty of overstating 1 to 2 miles per gallon on thousands of their vehicles. General Motors' credibility has gone down and their product quality has been called into question. General Motors has done a good job responding to their challenges. General Motors admitted liability and took fault for their recalls. They paid out victims and their families that were affected by their negligence. General Motors has created a plan to pay out individuals who purchased their vehicles that had misstated miles per gallon on them. Here we have recommendations for General Motors. Innovation and technology are crucial for competitiveness and survival. Innovation is a trait of General Motors and should be a focus again. Technology should be assessed regularly to ensure productivity is efficient. General Motors needs to continue to invest in the alternative energy market. The success of the Chevy Cruze and Volt are proof. Finally, General Motors needs to reduce their dependency on the U.S. market. The U.S. recession in 2008 showed how dependent General Motors was on the U.S. market. Investing overseas is a good idea. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention.